Davis's leading rusher, had his biggest game a week ago against North Carolina when he rushed for over 160 yards. Joe Henderson also shares time with Allen, but he sprained his ankle in that game, and he is listed as questionable for this afternoon's game with Maryland. For the Terps, on the other hand, Joe Krivak has done very well in conference play, and they say he's not emotional. But this scene on the sidelines in Chapel Hill a couple of weeks ago, near the end of the game after they kicked the game-winning field goal, would belie that theory. This team may be short on experience, but they're long on enthusiasm. And Krivak will lead a young team against Clemson today, led by junior quarterback Neil O'Donnell. He'll throw to Vernon Joines or Mike Beasley most of the day. It's Joines who has the streak of 13 consecutive games with at least one catch, and he will have to be effective against that talented Clemson secondary today. Beasley can hurt you running or catching the ball, either deep or short, and he has a nose for the end zone. It's all on the line today in College Park as Clemson battles Maryland next. The Clemson Tigers getting set to enter Byrd Stadium, and here they come, led by their head coach, Danny Ford. This team has won the last two conference championships, and you hear the reaction they get from the pro-Maryland crowd. There is Danny Ford, the sixth winningest active coach in NCAA Division I-A play. He knows what it feels like to win this conference championship. And here come the Terrapins of Maryland, everybody's favorite underdog. The Tigers of Clemson, the Terrapins of Maryland, getting set to kick it off in College Park. We'll be back for the opening lineups and the opening kickoff in a moment.
Jefferson Pilot Teleproductions presents exclusive live coverage of Atlantic Coast Conference football. Today's game is brought to you by the Jefferson Pilot Life Insurance Company. For insurance and financial services, better call JP. By Schlitz Malt Liquor. No one does it like the Bull. By the airline of ACC country, Delta. We love to fly, and it shows. By Amoco Ultimate Lead-Free Premium. Amoco, your car knows. And by Buick and your Buick dealers. The great American road belongs to Buick.
We are live at Byrd Stadium in College Park, Maryland, on the campus of the University of Maryland. The ACC title on the line as Clemson and Maryland do battle before a sellout crowd here in College Park on a gorgeous Maryland afternoon. Crispness in the air as fall comes to a close here in the East. The Terrapins getting ready with a 5-4 record to play for the conference championship. 50 degrees here at game time and a slight wind. As you can see, it's a very sunny afternoon, and the forecast is for more of the same. Kevin Slayton along with Ben Bennett, glad you're with us for this afternoon's game. You see some of the folks in the stands clad in orange. Those are the Clemson fans who made the trip. Today's starting lineup sponsored by AC Delco. Automotive parts that don't just fit, they match. Offensively for Maryland, they won the toss and will receive. Neil O'Donnell, the junior quarterback, will lead them out there. Ricky Johnson and Dennis Spinelli, who's on the touchdown binge in the backfield. Up front, they're going to need a big game from all five of those guys, as well as tight end Blaine Rhodes. They're going to have to give O'Donnell time, and they're going to have to open up some holes for the running game. The Terps will be dressed in black jerseys and red pants, one of the numerous uniform combinations that they employ during the course of the season. Ricky Johnson has dropped deep along with Brent Lowry. If you look at Rusty Sile, he gets set to kick it off. There are the deep receivers. To the top of your screen is Ricky Johnson. And Brent Lowry to the bottom. We are underway in College Park. It's Johnson at the 6. As he comes to the sidelines, he's dropped at the 23-yard line by Donnell Wolford, the All-American defensive back who doubles as a kick coverer. That's interesting in itself when you think about it. Danny Ford likes to have his best out there at all times. There is O'Donnell, as I mentioned, the junior quarterback, third in passing efficiency in the conference out of Madison, New Jersey. first down from their own 24. The first play goes to Spinelli, straight up the middle for about 3 or 4. Levon Kirkland, number 44, a last-minute starter at linebacker, makes the tackle for the Tigers. Our AC Delco starting defensive lineups for Clemson: Vance Hammond, Mark Dragg, and Richard McCullough up front. Mark Dragg with 10 sacks. Levon Kirkland, as I mentioned, a late starter at that linebacker spot. Ed McDaniel, the freshman, leads this team in tackles, and that secondary is as good as any in the country, led by the All-American Wolford. Pickup of 3, second down and 7. The toss is to Johnson. A hole on the left side. He breaks the tackle, gets near first down yardage up to the 33 before he's finally stopped by Gene Beasley, number 27, out of the secondary. Ricky Johnson with 499 yards rushing coming into the game. He shares duty with Mike Beasley.
It's going to be important for both Maryland's running backs to have big days today for Neil O'Donnell being able to throw the football effectively.
3rd and 1. These are the kind of plays Maryland will have to convert in order to give themselves a realistic shot at beating Clemson today. They're going to throw it on 3rd and 1. There's Joins, and his streak goes to 14 consecutive games in which he has caught at least one pass. Wolford on the coverage, and Ben, it's not often that Wolford gets beat on any type of pass play.
This will show you what type of confidence Joe Krivak has in his junior quarterback, Neil O'Donnell. The thing that impresses me the most about Neil O'Donnell is that he makes good decisions. He's got Joins open. He doesn't waste any time. Nice compact delivery, and delivers the ball right on the button for the first down.
Pickup of 9, first down at their own 42. The Terps on the move. They give it to Johnson, who sidesteps the tackler, gets to about the 45. Mark Dragg held on, number 85. Ben, you look at O'Donnell starting a big game, really for the first time in his career. What does it feel like as Joe Krivak looks on to a quarterback in this big of a game?
Well, there's a lot of butterflies that go on before the game, but once you get on the field, I know Neil O'Donnell feels this way. He wouldn't rather be anyplace else. He really likes to be in this type of situation because he feels like he can come out on top.
2nd and 7 after Johnson got 3. They're at their own 45. First quarter, no score. First possession of the game. O'Donnell will throw it. Here comes a blitz. He has time. There's Johnson trying to cut between 2 linebackers. Kirkland was the first to hit him, number 44. And he got some help from Jesse Hatcher, the bandit linebacker, number 55, as he gets to midfield about 2 or 3 yards shy of the first down.
49, I spoke earlier about Neil O'Donnell making good decisions. He initially on that play wanted his tight end down the middle of the field. When he got hung up, O'Donnell had the presence of mind to come off and hit the underneath man for a good gain.
3rd and 3 from their own 49. They threw on 3rd and 1. Let's see what they do here. Inside to Spinelli, straight up the middle. He's going to be close. Hatcher, number 55, got him first and was joined by Mariable, number 56. He crossed midfield, and they're going to measure.
What a great story Dorian Mariable is. On the evening of the spring game last year, he was in a car accident and partially went through the windshield of his car, injuring his neck and his shoulder. He came back, worked as hard as you could possibly work in the offseason once he was rehabilitated, and look what he's doing now.
Boy, is it close. I mean, an inch. 4th down, what do you do, Ben?
Well, when you've got a player of O'Donnell's caliber, you can do a lot of things, but I think he'll do the simplest thing and take it and push straight ahead and for as much yardage as possible.
On 4th down gamble, David Carr, number 84, comes in as the second tight end, replacing Barry Johnson. The first big decision of the game. Joe Krivak didn't even hesitate.
These are the type of plays that make or break ACC titles.
6'3", 221. That's the size of O'Donnell. That's what he does. He's got the first down. Almost impossible to stop that, isn't it?
Well, about the only way you can stop a quarterback sneak when you have somebody O'Donnell's size and an offensive line the caliber of Maryland's is to have a fumbled snap. O'Donnell not worried about picking up big yardage. He knows he only needs about 4 inches for the first down. He's a big, strong competitor. He's going to get you the first down 9 times out of 10.
He followed his big center, Mark Agin, 6'5", 245. When you've only got an inch to go, it makes it pretty certain. All he had to do was stumble and fall forward. He had it.
Well, you know, we talk about little plays ended up being the big plays at the end of the game. That was a big decision at midfield to go for it on 4th down.
Early in the game, on the first possession of the game. First down now from the Clemson 48. He'll throw on first down. Has the time, guns it complete to Joynes. He gets away from line, gets inside the 35 before Mariable and Hatcher combine to bring him down. A pickup of 13 for the Terrapins. And Ben, this is a very impressive opening drive.
This is what Joe Krivak wants out of his offense. He wants to control the football and keep Clemson off the field. Joynes goes down to 12 yards and hooks up. O'Donnell is delivering the ball not only on the money, but he's throwing the football on rhythm, which is unbelievably important in the passing game.
From the Clemson 35, third consecutive first down for the Terrapins. Spinelli gets outside, inside the 30 before he's shouldered out of bounds by Dexter Davis, number 9. But he carries for big yardage. That big fullback, the junior out of Lindenhurst, New York. There's a look at what he's done this season. All 4 of those touchdowns, by the way, have come in the last 3 games. So Maryland, close to another first down, will face second and about 2. They started from their own 24.
A big key is that they've already run 4 some minutes off of the clock.
O'Donnell gets outside. He guns it complete to Rose inside the 10. Gene Beasley saved the touchdown, 21 yards.
Maryland is mixing it up very, very well right now and keeping Clemson off balance. O'Donnell is good on the run as he is in the pocket. Hits his tight end, Blaine Rose, wide open for a big game. And the key to the whole thing is that O'Donnell has been right on the money.
I asked Joe Krivak yesterday, do you feel like you have to score early? He said it would help.
Well, seeing how nobody has scored on Clemson in the first quarter this year, it would be a big change.
The toss to Johnson. It's a foot race. He cuts back and scores! Second touchdown rushing of the season, as Ben mentioned. First time all year Clemson's been scored on in the first quarter. You can tack this one on because it's automatic. Flockey's 88 for 88 in his career. And there's number 89. 7-0 the Terps before a rocking sellout house here at Byrd Stadium. Another look at the score.
Emotion is such a big part of college football. You can see Maryland is fired up. This is a lot of individual effort on the part of Ricky Johnson. He gets the football into the end zone. It's the first time this year that Clemson has been scored on in the first quarter.
10:15 remaining in the first quarter. Maryland jumps out to the early lead. We'll come back to Byrd Stadium for more ACC action in a moment. On a gorgeous Maryland afternoon at Byrd Stadium, there is Ricky Johnson. He just scored the touchdown for Maryland. Their first possession, they took more than 4.5 minutes off the clock, and they rammed it into the end zone on Clemson to leave a calling card here in the opening minutes as to who's in charge at Byrd Stadium. They marched it 76 yards for the touchdown. Kevin Slayton and Ben Bennett on a beautiful day at Byrd Stadium. It's getting even better looking for the Maryland folks. There is Flockey as Joe Henderson is dropped deep for Clemson, along with Wesley McFadden. McFadden at the top of your screen. Henderson playing on a tender ankle at the bottom of your screen.
This is for the ACC championship, though. You couldn't keep him out of this game.
A high short kick. McFadden at the 15. Dragged down, and he crossed the 30 by Darren Drozdo. Number 91, a 17-yard return. Today's starting lineup sponsored by AC Delco. Automotive parts that don't just fit, they match. For Clemson offensively, these parts have matched all year. Williams at quarterback, Allen at tailback. And look for the bull, Tracy Johnson, to carry the ball more today up the middle, because the Clemson coaching staff feels that with this offensive line that you see there, they can open up some holes against a soft Maryland interior. Flags fly before the first snap.
Nunemacher a little anxious to hit somebody.
I don't blame him. If I were 6'2" and 290, I'd be anxious to hit somebody too. Especially after you sit on the bench chomping at the bit for 4.5 minutes, which Clemson had to do as they watched Maryland drive it 76 yards and jam it into the end zone.
Kevin, they didn't do anything wrong, Ben. That's absolutely the case. Maryland's going to need to do that all afternoon long. They're going to need to execute flawlessly and keep Clemson's up top of the nation turnover ratio down.
I want to apologize for those of you who are without audio for the first minute or so of the telecast. We have that problem corrected. I hope you'll hear us the rest of the day. Here's Allen. Short yardage. Warren Powers, number 90 in black. It's always interesting to see as we take another look at our AC Delco starting defensive lineups for the Terps. Always interesting, Ben, to see how long emotion can carry a team. So far, it's sustained itself pretty well for the Terrapins.
The crowd is going to play a big factor in this game before it's all over.
2nd and 13. In motion, Gary Cooper. He's their big play guy, and he just entered the game. There's Jennings, and he cannot slip the tackle on the side and gets to about the 40. Nice tackle by Irvin Smith, because size-wise, that's a mismatch. An 11-yard pickup for Jennings, and his streak remains intact now. That's 14 straight games for him with at least one pass.
Talk about the size mismatch. Keith Jennings is going to mismatch just about every defensive back in the country. This guy is 6'4", 235 pounds.
He's a load to bring down. There's Rodney Williams, the quarterback out of Columbia, South Carolina. He faces 3rd and 2. Williams still has it around the corner, has the first down, and gets run out of bounds. But he did a nice job of deception as Chad Sidner, number 19, came up to drop him. Everybody thought Tracy Johnson had the ball.
This is what Rodney Williams does for you. He runs the offense to the best of his abilities, which has made him the winningest quarterback in Clemson history. There's no secret to what he's trying to do. If he's open to run, he's going to run the football.
He's rushed it for 5 touchdowns this year. And that time he picked up the first down. From their own 47, Clemson operating down 7-0. Here comes the reverse. It's Cooper. In trouble. Needs a block. Turns it into a big gainer inside the 30. He's gone. "52 yards. I said he was a big play guy. He averages better than 38 yards per reception, but I want to tell you, he put a dance on Jack Bradford in the backfield that would make anybody come down with a head cold."
You want to talk about a tremendous individual effort. Holy smokes.
Well, we knew this game would be exciting. Sile comes on for the conversion. But we didn't think that each team would open up with touchdown salvos against each other with 8:39 left in the first quarter. We're all tied at 7 after that electrifying 52-yard run by Gary Cooper.
You want to talk about an individual effort. Watch what Gary Cooper does on this play. Watch him avoid people, cut back, use his blockers, and use his speed to get away from everybody. This is a thing of beauty.
He nearly celebrated too soon. So for Cooper, a big touchdown run. That ties the game at 7. We'll return to Byrd Stadium for more ACC football with a conference championship on the line in a moment. Back live at Byrd Stadium after a visit from Spuds McKenzie and the Spudettes here. I tell you, everybody's here today. This is a happening in Clemson and Maryland, playing for the ACC title. There's the drive for Clemson that got them even. Didn't take long. Of course, It doesn't take long when you got a run like Cooper made. You know, I was talking to Joe Krivak yesterday, Ben, and he said he was going to preach to his players on the Maryland side that somebody has to make a big play because Clemson doesn't give up many touchdowns, so you have to make big plays. Well, it happened against him. Bradford had a chance to make a big defensive play, but didn't make it.
Well, and Gary Cooper, conversely, made the big play for Clemson. My coach up in Chicago, Terry Moss, always says to our team, great players make big plays in important games. This is about as important as they get. $1 million payoff and the ACC title.
Ricky Johnson at the top of your screen, Lowry at the bottom. Sile puts his foot into it, and he really got it. Coming down to Lowry at the 1. Ducks his head and gets to about the 24-yard line. Now you have to wonder, Ben, after that 23-yard return, if that touchdown answering Maryland's score by Clemson will affect the Maryland offense. They were brimming with confidence after scoring early.
Well, I don't know if it's going to affect their confidence, but they got to start thinking to themselves now, hey, Clemson can put points on the board in a hurry. We've got to keep our hands on the football and not make mistakes.
Joe Krivak, you saw him in your picture, told me yesterday time of possession will be important for his team. Well, they did a good job the first time. Here comes O'Donnell. Pitches back to Johnson. Crosses the 30 to the 35 before he's upended by James Lott, number 5, and Dexter Davis, an 11-yard pickup. Well, we haven't seen Mike Beasley yet. It's because of the way Johnson's playing. Those are the stories per game for the season. You can see Maryland, they got 501 total yards against North Carolina a few weeks ago. Clemson does it mostly on the ground. Maryland will mix it up, as they did on their opening drive. Green in motion. Here's Johnson again, caught from behind by drag, and then Beasley just smothers it.
Mark Drag sure has been a pleasant surprise for anybody that's followed Clemson football. He's come through. We mentioned the 10 sacks at the beginning of the game, but he's just been in on so many big plays this year. To lose him would be a huge loss to this Clemson defense.
Maryland will operate now from just across their own 35, 2nd and 10 after no gain on that play. Drag, the senior from Charlotte, anchors the middle of that Clemson defensive front. Again, O'Donnell has time. Now he has to get out of it. He's in trouble. Outruns Kirkland and picks up 3 or 4. Well, for those of you who didn't know Neil O'Donnell could run fast, he outran the linebacker Kirkland to the sideline.
This is one of the reasons why Neil O'Donnell has almost rushed for 300 yards this year. When people are covered downfield, he doesn't try to force the ball in. He uses his athletic ability, which is a big, big plus for the Maryland offense, and gets out of trouble and picks up positive yards.
How about the block by Clarence Jones, number 74, his left tackle? He drilled the Clemson player to his back. 3 wide receiver to the bottom of your screen there. Joins the nearest to us, then Green, and then Johnson. O'Donnell has time for Joins. It was a little late getting there, and that allowed Dexter Davis to come in and knock it away.
I spoke earlier in the telecast that Neil O'Donnell was throwing the football on rhythm. You can see at the end of his drop, Neil O'Donnell kind of hesitates a little bit and double clutches the ball, which gives Davis the opportunity to come in at the last second and knock the football away.
Those cornerbacks for Clemson are mighty good. Wolford and Davis. Wolford drops deep to receive the punt from DeArmas. The left-footed Maryland punter hangs it high. Fair catch called for by Wolford. Boy, he had trouble finally zeroing in on that one and takes it at about the 17 after a 43-yard punt. So with 7:06 left in the first half, we're tied at 7 with the ACC championship on the line. We're back live at Byrd Stadium. Kevin Slayton along with Ben Bennett, and everybody who's anybody in the ACC is keeping their eyes on this one because the championship of the conference is on the line here this afternoon. If Clemson wins, they are the outright champion. If Maryland wins, they have everything going for them. All they would have to do is defeat Virginia next week, and they would be the champions of the conference. As we mentioned a few minutes ago, the tale of the tape for both of these teams. Maryland defensively gives up lots of yardage. 7:06 left, first quarter, tied at 7. They run the fullback, Tracy Johnson. He runs into a stone wall. was the first there. Actually, Wesley McFadden now in at fullback made the carry. It's a tough job for McFadden, isn't it, Ben? He was a tailback, and then they shifted him to fullback, and now he's a backup fullback. It's tough to get in there and play as well after all of those changes.
Well, the thing that the Clemson offensive coaches were so pleased with is that he's an unselfish player and made a very graceful transition from tailback to fullback.
Pickup of 2, 2nd and 8. Cooper, number 25 in the game again, wide to the top of your screen. Williams pitches back for Allen. Knocked out of bounds near the 30. He's very close to the first down. Chad Sidner, number 19, came up to bump the conference's leading rusher out of bounds.
And I tell you, one of the big keys for Clemson, in addition to the fact that their wide receivers can make great runs on reverses, they block as well as any receivers I've seen anywhere. They get downfield and they get on defensive backs. If Clemson's backs pop through the line and those defensive backs are occupied, it makes for a lot bigger gain.
They're going to measure to see if Allen was able to pick it up. He came into this game needing just 44 yards for a 1,000-yard season.
The only sophomore in Clemson history to rush for 1,000 yards.
And he got the first down. He leads the conference in rushing. He averages 6 yards a crack. That's pretty hefty number.
Well, I tell you, the amazing thing about what he did last weekend, his longest run was 16 yards, but he had 24 yards, but he had 16 carries of 6 yards or more.
That's consistent, isn't it?
It may not be a world's record, but that's a heck of an average.
First down Clemson, 6:21 left in the first quarter, all tied at 7. Sellout crowd at Bird Stadium on a gorgeous afternoon. Williams, the pass on first down, lost it outside. He's got Hooper, and Hooper is up to the 38-yard line before Fouts can drop him a 9-yard pickup. Ricardo Hooper, number 26. Gary Cooper, number 25.
So far, we've seen both quarterbacks execute everything that they've tried today. Rodney Williams right on the button, delivers the football right where Hooper can get his hands on the football and turn upfield.
And the flag will work against Clemson. Andy Ford doesn't like it.
We have an ineligible downfield on the offense, 5-yard penalty.
That'll happen when your quarterback is rolling out with an option to run or pass. It'll be 1st and 15.
Didn't look real happy with that call, did he?
No, he's not happy.
Well, you know, Danny Ford is normally very laid back, but he's an extreme perfectionist. He wants the best out of his club.
Williams just decides to do it again. Jennings trying to sidestep the tackler on the far side. Gets it up to about the 33. Sidner, number 19, brought him down. Pickup of about 10 will make it 2nd and 5.
This is what makes Clemson so tough. I'd spoken earlier about how well Clemson's wide receivers block downfield. Just when you think they're going to come out and hit you, they hook up and catch the ball. Very difficult to defend.
And now a flag working against Maryland.
We have a dead ball foul. Late hit on the defense. It's 15-yard penalty. First down.
So that personal foul does not bring a smile to the face of Joe Krevat. First 2 penalties here.
Well, you know, coaches don't mind mistakes of aggression, but they do really get upset at mental errors, and that's what that was.
First down Clemson at their own 47. Williams tosses it to Allen. Sidnor knocks him out of bounds. But Clemson starting to assert itself now with that powerful running game.
And that's no big surprise. This is what Clemson does every week. They wear you down with that big offensive line and the powerful backs that they have. They're not just 1 or 2 deep. They've got 4 and 5 guys that can run the football right at you.
They're in Maryland territory at the Terps 46 with a 2nd and 4 after Allen picked up 6. Second possession for the Tigers. They scored the first time they had the ball. passes to Allen. He makes a move at the line of scrimmage and ducks inside the 40 before Rick Fleece, number 96, can chase him down from behind. But that is another Clemson first down.
What Terry Allen does for you is he does everything right. He's not spectacular, but boy, I tell you watch what he does throughout the game. He covers the ball when he's in traffic. He gets his shoulder square, and he runs north and south. There's no wasted motion when Terry Allen gets his hands on the football.
Maryland trying to win here in Byrd Stadium for the first time since 1980, or Clemson, I should say. They haven't won here since 1980. They won in Baltimore, but not in this stadium, as McFadden carries for short yardage. Gets near the 37-yard line before Matt D'Amico and Larry Webster bring him down. So it's been a drought for the Tigers here on this playing surface. I don't think Danny Ford's not aware of it.
You know, should Clemson win today and win their third consecutive ACC title, it'll only be the 4th time in the history of the league that a team has done that.
They look at 2nd down and 7 now. Might be a passing down for most teams, but not for Clemson. That time they were waiting for him. Good job from Mark Walsh, number 42, the junior out of Belleville, New Jersey. He was ready for Terry Allen, and they had the option defense very well.
Walsh did a great job of playing off the block of number 59, Jed Flesh. Got himself into Terry Allen's line of sight and disrupted the entire play.
So now it'll bring up 3rd and 5. The crowd exhorts the Maryland defensive team. Williams has it deflected as he's trying to hit Jennings. I'm not sure who got a hand on it. It may have been D'Amico. But whoever it was did what Joe Krebeck told me yesterday. Somebody has to make a big play for it. And that was a big play.
Although it's still early in the first quarter and there's plenty of time left in the game, the little plays like that, just a little play by getting your hands up, can turn out to be a big play in the ballgame. Gardocki on for the field goal attempt of 51 yards. He's 1 of 4 from this distance. That was a 52-yarder last week. He's got it on target, and he drills it through there. So Chris Gardocki, they weren't even sure he'd be the kicker when the season started. He nails a 51-yarder to give Clemson a 10-7 lead. So on each of their first 2 possessions, the Tigers have scored. And with 3:25 left in the quarter, they enjoy a 3-point lead. We'll be back with more ACC action in a moment. I said at the top of the telecast, Norman Rockwell couldn't have painted a better day. And that's what we have here in College Park, and you see what's transpired thus far to the delight of the Clemson Tiger. 10-7, Clemson in the lead. That was the last scoring drive by the Tigers, culminating in that 51-yard field goal by Gardocki. Maryland took the opening kickoff, drove 76 yards to a touchdown on a run by Ricky Johnson of 70 yards. But it was that Gary Cooper 52-yard end around that got Clemson back in. And Ben, you remember a week ago, they were struggling against North Carolina, and it took an end around pass to Cooper of better than 50 yards that got Clemson going there. Well, a lot of people call those trick plays or you know, gadget plays. But when you run the football as effectively as Clemson does, it causes the other team to commit a lot of players to trying to stop that. And that's what makes you susceptible to the reverses and to the halfback passes.
Sile will kick off. You saw the 2 deep men, Johnson and Lowry. A high kick. This time it's Lowry at the 6. He runs head on to a Clemson tackler, and I mean, he got busted by Wayne Harps, number 16. 16-yard return. He looked for a moment as though Lowry had some room, but he ran into Harps, and I mean, he didn't go any further.
I'm going to tell you, that was a shot right there. It was like he ran into a wall. They just both stopped moving.
That one hurt all the way up here. Harps is laughing about it. Didn't hurt him. He was the giver.
Yeah, I do it every day, is what he's telling him.
Beasley in their tailback, number 1. His first appearance of the day, and look out, Hatcher has him and knocks him down. Jesse Hatcher, with his 5th sack of the season, was not fooled by that fake to Beasley.
The bandit linebacker, Jesse Hatcher. O'Donnell's making the fake and trying to get outside. He did this earlier, and Hatcher was fooled. This time, Hatcher will have none of that.
A loss of 8. You look at Hatcher, just 210 pounds. O'Donnell's bigger than he is, but he brought him down with an arm tackle. He's strong, 210. Second down now, and a long 17, we call it. Inside their own 15. Now Maryland has to be careful. They'll run the draw play with Lowry. Levon Kirkland wraps him up on the far side. The freshman out of Lamar, South Carolina.
This is the way you stop a draw play. You get people that are catching and waiting and reading and reacting once they see that the draw is coming. Had that not been a draw, Clemson wouldn't have had a great pass rush. But then again, Maryland is in 2nd and long, and they didn't need a great pass rush.
They'll operate from their own 13 on 3rd and 19. O'Donnell runs the draw to Beasley. He stumbles as he gets close to the 15. And the Turks are going to have to punt it, and the Bluebirds make their presence known. They're not wild about the play selection.
Well, of course, everybody in the stands wants to see O'Donnell throw the football. But it's very good play calling on the part of Joe Krivak. He's only down 3 points. He's down in his own end of the field. You don't want to take a chance on turning the football over.
The sack on 1st down really hurt. The Armas will kick. Wolford is deep. He needs to boom one here, and he hangs it up pretty high. Wolford from his 45 going to try to return it. He's a dangerous return man. If he can get outside, but a great tackle by Mike Thomas, number 5, after a 40-yard punt, and that keeps Wolford from returning it at all.
This is probably the loneliest job in sports, returning punts. Donnell Wolford, although, is one of the best in the country this year. Unfortunately, when you're going against a team that's fired up, it makes it very difficult for you to find any kind of running room.
Critical series for the Maryland defensive team. If you look at Thomas, who made that play. They need to get some confidence defensively. Williams dropping back. Guns it the other way and overthrows Hooper. What happened, he was looking for Cooper, but Sidner did a great job of bumping Cooper as he came out and didn't let him get past him. If he misses him, it's 6 the other way. Boston College threatening to upset the Orangemen. Georgia Tech out in front of Wake Forest in the 2nd quarter. The Hawkeyes trying to keep their poll hopes alive, lead Ohio State, and that one is scoreless at Mississippi State in the 1st quarter. 2nd and 10 for Clemson. There goes Allen. He's in trouble. Thomp stopped him. Oh, look at Allen. Look at this young man run. He's inside the 45. He was stopped for a 2-yard loss.
I'm going to tell you, I said earlier, great players make big plays in big games. This is as big as they come. Watch the effort by Terry Allen. For all intents and purposes, this should have been a loss of 2 yards. Look at Allen's individual effort. You can't coach desire. And let me tell you, this kid is overflowing with desire.
You saw on the top of the telecast the short touchdown run he made last week that was nothing but effort after he was hit 3 or 4 times. Same situation there. He keeps the legs turning and just will not go down. From the 44 of Maryland. They run Tracy Johnson up the middle. He gets a couple before Warren Powers drops him.
You know, people always ask when they watch football games, you know, why do they always try to run the football up in the middle? It never goes for any yards. Well, you've got to keep the middle of the defense honest, because if you don't ever give it to your fullback, the linebackers are going to flow outside and stuff up your outside running game.
Probably won't get another playoff here in the 1st quarter as it now comes to an end. So an exciting 15 minutes of ACC football comes to an end here in Byrd Stadium with Clemson on top of Maryland 10-7. We'll return to College Park, Maryland for more ACC football in a moment. On a beautiful afternoon in the Maryland countryside, Kevin Slayton, Ben Bennett, you see this scene here at Byrd Stadium. 10-7, Clemson leading Maryland as we begin play in the second quarter. If you just joined us, Maryland took the opening kickoff and marched 76 yards to a touchdown to take a 7-0 lead. Clemson answered that on a 52-yard end around, Gary Cooper scoring to tie it. And then Chris Gardocki booted a 51-yard field goal for Clemson. They lead 10-7. They're at the Maryland 42 with a second down. Straight up the middle goes Tracy Johnson. Gets to about the 40. Carl Edwards, number 11, dropped in there. So they'll bring up third down and about 6 or 7.
So far in these types of situations, Clemson has run the down-the-line option and stood up and tried to stick the wide receiver at 12 yards. Don't be surprised if they try to get Rodney Williams outside and they give him the option to run or pass.
Third and 5. Gary Cooper back in there, number 25. He's their big play guy. He's already stunned Maryland once. Williams with time. Plenty of time. He'll run for it. He has the first down. He's inside the 30 and hits the deck at the 26-yard line. That's what Rodney Williams gives you as an added dimension.
Well, both quarterbacks in this game are tremendous athletes, and they make good decisions. Rodney Williams wants to go for all the biscuits here and decides to pull the football down when they're covered downfield. Good decision and good run. What I like at the end, he's staying out of trouble. Let me get down to the turf here. Very nice.
First down at the 26. You used to hit the deck like that in a hurry, didn't you?
I hit it quicker than that, by golly.
13 yards from Williams on that play. Toss to Allen. That time Maryland was ready. He went nowhere. Scott Whittier, number 38, was there to greet him. And he had help from Rick Fleece, number 96.
This is one of the few times I've ever seen Terry Allen take a hit right on the money. But he does it because he turns his shoulders forward and is fighting for extra yards. When you do that, you're susceptible to taking some big shots.
Still takes 3 guys in black to bring him down. Whittier hit him a load that time. 2nd and 9. Williams going to keep it himself. D'Amico brings him down shy of the 20. And it'll be a third down situation for Clemson. They've been awfully efficient in third down situations today. Coming into the season, they had converted nearly 1 out of every 2, 48% of their third down situations. Williams doing a good job keeping the ball himself today.
Well, when you run the option, you've got to have a quarterback that's not afraid to turn up and put his head down. And Rodney Williams has done that for Clemson for 4 years.
Another 3rd and 5 facing Rodney. 3 wide receivers in there. As Davis, number 7, comes in. They'll run it with Allen. Warren Powers gets him short of the first down. Boy, he was holding on because, as you've mentioned, and as we've seen today, Allen fights for that extra yardage. But Powers, the senior out of Baltimore, did a great job to keep him short of the first down.
Well, this will show you what kind of confidence Danny Ford has in his offensive line and in Terry Allen. On 3rd and 5, it's almost a definite passing situation for most teams. When you've got Terry Allen in your backfield, you have confidence that he can pick up that 5 yards.
35-yard field goal attempt by Gardocki. He's 5 of 7 from this distance, included a 51-yarder earlier today. Oh, he hooked this one badly. And that gets this crowd back into it. A sellout crowd on their feet now as Maryland's defense holds. 11:47 left in the half. We'll be back after this message and a word from your local ACC station. Nowhere does the story from the penthouse to the outhouse go as quickly as in college football for a kicker. You saw Chris Gardocki kick a 51-yarder earlier, who just now hooked the 35-yarder very badly. So Clemson leads it by 3 with 11:47 remaining in the first half. Kevin Slayton and Ben Bennett. Did you order this weather, Ben?
I had it specially booked just for you, Kevin.
Well, I appreciate it. It is just picture perfect today here in College Park.
I'll send you a bill.
Maryland leads it. Or trails at 10-7 after leading 7-0 early. They haven't been able to score cents. O'Donnell back to the air. Barry Johnson at the 30. He falls about a foot shy of the first down. This is what they did successfully on that opening drive in which they scored and took the early lead. Clemson's defense has dominated them since.
We talked about rhythm. You can see O'Donnell sets up, lets the ball go right as he comes forward and puts it on the money. Johnson stumbles coming out of his break, but he still picks up 9 yards, puts Maryland in a very good position.
Johnson comes out, 2 tight ends in there now. Brenton Boley comes in, and one of the tight ends, number 83. That is he that goes in motion. The toss is to Ricky Johnson. He's in trouble. And like Terry Allen, when it looks like the great backs are caught for a loss, they somehow turn it into a positive game. And he picked up the first down.
Well, his lineman ought to pat him on the back. He did a great job of making something out of nothing and picking up the first down.
He scored the Maryland touchdown on a 7-yard burst over the left side in the game's opening minutes. Maryland has not been able to eat any time off the clock offensively since that first drive. This first down here has to give them some confidence again. Here comes Johnson. Gets a block. Turns it up across the 35, diving to the 36 before Dexter Davis upended him, number 9. Had some help from Ed McDaniel, number 93. Boy, McDaniel's a story, Ben. He's the leading tackler. He's a freshman. Didn't even start the first 2 games.
Well, a lot of defenses, and Clemson's in particular, is designed to have your linebackers make the tackles. They use the down linemen to keep the offensive guards and the offensive tackles off of your linebackers because your linebackers are usually the best athletes on your defense.
2nd and 4 after a 6-yard pickup. There goes Johnson again. Drags tackle, but now gets turned around and doesn't get too far. McDaniel wrapped him up. Tell you what, when you break a tackle from Mark Drag, you've done something all by yourself. If Clemson wins this game, they will be the ACC champions. If Maryland wins, they can wrap up the ACC championship by defeating Virginia next week. So both of these teams control their own destiny, and that's all a coach really can ask for at this stage of the season. 3rd and 3 for the Terps. O'Donnell will throw for it. Guns it complete to Johnson. He turns and has the first down and then some. He's in Clemson territory as Lott brings him down. It looked like he brought him down with a fist at the end of the play.
Yeah, well, you know, in reality, what he's trying to do at the end of the play is he's trying to knock the football out of his hands. We talk about O'Donnell making good decisions. He wanted to go downfield, and at the last second, turn and guns the ball out to Johnson. Now watch at the end, as he gets his hands on his jersey, watch him try and swat the ball out. Fortunately for Ricky Johnson, he rolled over at the right time, and it looked like a shot to the back of the head.
Yeah, it wasn't real close to the ball there. Lott's lucky because the officials were standing right there. Bill Krivak has asked for a timeout with 9:14 remaining. This is a good possession for them to be careful. They're in Clemson territory for the first time since the opening possession. We'll return to Burt Stadium for more after this. Back live here at College Park, our small liquor student athlete of the week is Mark Drag, 3.50 grade point in industrial management. The senior out of Charlotte, North Carolina for the Clemson Tigers, our Schlitz Malt Liquor student athlete of the week. Congratulations to Mark. He also has 10 sacks. So he's busy in the classroom as well as on the football field.
I can promise you, he'd rather be chasing quarterbacks and laying concrete on roads, which is what he did for work this summer.
Anybody would rather be chasing quarterbacks than doing that. First down for the Terps. The big fullback Spinelli rolls downfield inside the 35.
You know, we talked about earlier in the show these little runs up the middle that don't go for any yards. Well, this is what happens if you stay with it. Spinelli pops through after the offensive line opened a huge hole for him. He's not just a touchdown scorer, he's a big runner too.
13 yards that time he pulled through the Clemson defense for. First down at the 33. Here goes Johnson. Look at Johnson nibble his way inside the 25. He made Lott miss. Gene Beasley came up to stop him. Number 27, a 9-yard pickup for Johnson, and the Terps machine is rolling now.
Again, the first people that you have to pat on the back are the offensive linemen. Look at the holes they open up right here for Johnson. The rest is just individual effort. And you know, Kevin, ever since the missed field goal, you can almost feel the momentum starting to turn back toward Maryland.
Maryland had not done anything offensively since that opening possession. And then all of a sudden, as you say, that got the crowd back into it, and it was only a 35-yard field goal, makeable for Gardocki. O'Donnell guns it for Rose, and he dropped it. Had to turn back the other way to catch it.
I'm going to tell you who made that play defensively was the interception.
So now it is 3rd and 1. 8:08 remaining in the first half. Kevin Slayton and Ben Bennett, glad you could join us for this week's ACC Game of the Week with the conference championship at stake. 2 tight ends in there for the Terrapins. Flags are down as Johnson appears to have the first down. That play didn't look right from the start.
You got all sorts of Maryland people jumping around.
Well, those little mistakes that you talk about each week, Ben. That one will cost him 5 big yards.
Dead ball foul. False start on the offense. 5-yard penalty.
Watch the left side of Maryland's offensive line. Prior to the snap, you can see the tackle take off. And the tight end kind of jumped a little bit before that. When you're not in sync, you're going to be offsides. And boy, those are the nagging little penalties that really get to you if you're a coach.
Now it's 3rd and 6. It won't be a big penalty if they can pick up the first down, but if they can't, that will loom large.
Watch the tight end on this play.
Here comes the blitz from Beasley. Incomplete. Flags are down. It was a heck of an attempt by Johnson, but the ball popped loose. He fooled one official. One was going to rule it complete, but the other one who had the better view. But the flag appears to be against Clemson. So both coaches exchanging grief over little penalty.
Offsides on the defense. 5 yards.
Well, we'll be back to where we were 5 minutes ago. 3rd and 1.
You know, Kevin, I was talking about the mental mistakes as opposed to mistakes of aggression. A coach doesn't mind if a guy is really going all out for a tackle and happens to get his hand hooked up in a face mask. He'd rather not have it, but that's the kind of penalty he would rather have than a guy jumping offsides or lining up in the neutral zone. Worse than that.
Now, when you line up offside, it's really bad. Now, here we go. 3rd and 1. O'Donnell. Oh, he's got a touchdown. There it is to Johnson. On to try to make his 90th consecutive point after. He's 89 of 89 for his career, and he has a perfect 90. And for Johnson, that 24-yard touchdown catch is his 2nd touchdown reception of the year, and it comes out of the old playbook of Bart Starr on 3rd and 1. O'Donnell made a great fake, and Johnson got over.
Well, conventional thinking on 3rd and short is that you're going to run the football, and you have the opportunity to make big plays that you can execute. Johnson snuck past the linebacker. O'Donnell delivered the ball right on the money, and that was a big, big call. Great call by Joe Krebeck.
Everybody thought run, as you mentioned, Ben, and that allowed Johnson to get behind Wolford, who tried to tackle him over there.
Well, even if he tackled him, it would only have been a penalty and not a touchdown.
That's what he was trying to do, prevent the touchdown. 7.5 left in the half. We'll be back in a moment. Well, if you ever wonder about the value of a 5-yard penalty, well, it's worth 7 points. That's what the penalty cost Clemson here. They had stopped Maryland on 3rd down, And then Maryland got a second chance and threw for the touchdown. Beautiful day here in College Park. Kevin Slayton and Ben Bennett. The Terps have a 4-point lead over favored Clemson with 7:38 remaining in the first half. Again, the importance of this game. If Clemson wins, they are the ACC champs. If Maryland wins, they're in the driver's seat. They would have to still beat Virginia next week, but if they did that, they would be the conference champions in a trip to the Florida Citrus Bowl.
If they win today, the worst they could do is tie for first place.
McFadden was undecided about coming out, and he gets out to the 26. Joel Goody, number 45, able to get down there and bring him down. So Clemson will take over.
Now you have to ask yourself, will the momentum that Maryland's offense has gained, will that carry over their defensive unit?
Remember, it was a missed field goal by Gardocki that got Maryland up off the floor. Their offense drove for a touchdown following that missed field goal. Williams in trouble. Matt D'Amico nearly took his head off. Well, that answers your question, at least for one play, Ben.
And again, the crowd is starting to get back into this. On the option, if you're a quarterback, your first option is to hand the football off, your second is to run the football, and your third is to get out of the way if Matt D'Amico is chasing him.
Get out of the way of any linebacker who has murder on his mind. There is D'Amico. He had that big interception at North Carolina that set up the game-winning field goal a couple of weeks ago. First man through is McFadden. Wesley gets close to the 35, but it will bring up a third down play as D'Amico and Jack Bradford, number 47, combined to bring down the junior out of Chester, South Carolina. Sellout crowd at Byrd Stadium. A Chamber of Commerce day here in College Park. Take a picture of this stadium, you can sell the city. The crowd on its feet on third down and 4. Williams cuts it upfield, first down at the 40. No hesitation in the decision by Rodney Williams. Chad Sidner, number 19, brought him down. It's a 10-yard gain, and Ben Williams has been effective running the ball.
You know, and you got to give Rodney Williams a lot of credit. Throughout this guy's career, he's had arthroscopic surgery on his knee. He's had a broken jaw twice. He's got a bone chip in his thumb. You think any of that is going through his mind right now? Heck no, this guy wants to win an ACC title and wants the ACC championship ring. That's what they're playing for.
Not to mention a holiday trip to the Florida Citrus Bowl, because that's what's at the end of the rainbow for the winner of this conference. Williams again has a hole. He's to midfield before he's wrestled down from behind. Scott Whittier, number 38, got him. The junior out of Virginia Beach, Virginia. Rodney Williams has taken command himself. He has 42 yards rushing today on 6 carries. Not a bad average.
Well, to illustrate what kind of guy Rodney Williams is, when he first got into school at Clemson, he was driving a Corvette. But that's not the type of guy he is. He's not flashy. He's not dynamic. He just gets the job done. Now he drives a Jeep.
From midfield, one of the few quarterbacks around that drives a Jeep. The toss to Allen, who's been quiet for a while. Run out of bounds by Larry Webster, number 99, making his second start of the season. Started for the first time this year last week against Penn State and responded with a big game.
We spoke about this earlier. Watch on the corner. Watch the wide receivers down on the defensive backs. That's what allows Terry Allen, right there in your screen, that allows Terry Allen to get upfield and get to the secondary.
First down Clemson at the Maryland 44. That run carries him over 1,000 yards for the season, and he leads the conference in rushing. Williams with a first down bullet. He completes it to Hooper. Hooper breaks one tackle inside the 25. He won't be denied. Finally wrestled down. Ricardo Hooper with a big gainer all the way down inside the 25. Irvin Smith finally brought him there.
These are the things that'll put momentum back in your column. Rodney Williams guns the ball to Hooper, who makes a tremendous individual effort. Watch him after he gets his hands on the ball, how long he stays on his feet fighting for yardage.
20-yard pickup. They'll spot it at the 24. J.B. Brown just couldn't hang on. Ricardo now gets a seat on the sideline. First down, Clemson. They threaten. Inside handoff goes to the fullback. He's inside the 20. So the patented Clemson offense doing what it does best now. Mixing in a pass here and there. McFadden carrying it in. Maryland just took the lead 14-10. They took the opening kickoff and took an early 7-0 lead, but Clemson responded with a touchdown of their own, then a field goal. Then Gardocki missed a 35-yard field goal attempt, and Maryland came back on a 24-yard touchdown pass to Ricky Johnson to take the lead, and that's where we are now.
Maryland's in a position right now where they need to make a big play.
3:56 left and a half. There it is. It came from the backside, and Warren Powers dropping Williams for a loss back to the 20. And that'll set up a big third down play.
When an offense is clicking as well as Maryland's is, they're going to execute better and better every play unless somebody steps to the front and makes the big play.
Warren Powers did it that time. Senior leadership. Third down and 6. There is Powers. Clemson 60% on third down.
Maryland's coming with a blitz right here. Should be man-to-man coverage.
Williams reads it, throws it, but throws it away. Sidner was over there covering Gary Cooper. That'll mean Gardocki with a chance to redeem himself. He missed from 35 yards out. Every time Clemson has had the ball, they've had a chance to score so far, Ben. So they haven't had trouble moving it, but they have had trouble capitalizing. The only touchdown came on that electrifying 52-yard run by Cooper.
You know, that'll go down in the books as an incomplete pass. What you won't read in the stats is the guts that it took to call the blitz and the fact that the blitz actually made Williams hurry the football, and thus it was incomplete.
36-yard attempt. He's made one from 51, missed from 35, and it's blocked. I don't know who got a piece of it, but it may well have been Michael Hollis, number 27. He's the one who's jumping around, and this Maryland crowd is delirious.
Interesting call. They're debating about whether to give the ball to Clemson or Maryland right here.
I don't understand why. It has to be Maryland ball. Nobody touched it and tried to run with it after the block. They're debating on where to spot it. No matter where they decide to spot it, Maryland has come up with what Joe Krivak had been saying yesterday, Ben, what you said throughout the telecast, another big play. 3:01 remaining in the first half. Maryland leading Clemson 14-10. Back live at Byrd Stadium, Maryland will take over at their own 20, 1st and 10 after blocking that field goal. The word we get from the sidelines is the officials apparently thought the ball went into the end zone after the block and have spotted it as a touchback. That certainly did not happen. The ball was dead at the 7-yard line. So if that's the reasoning, Maryland is going to be the beneficiary of a big break.
And what else it does is that it gives Maryland some operating room. We saw earlier in the game when they were down in their own shadow of their own end zone, they were very conservative in their play calling. Now they're out on the 20. They can open it up a little bit more.
First down from the 20 now. O'Donnell 7 of 9 for 96 yards and a touchdown pass. Terrapins with the ball on the lead. Lowry gets maybe a yard, runs into heavy traffic. Dexter Davis and Jesse Hatcher quick to close defensively, and they kind of push Lowry around as he's getting up.
I'm going to tell you who made that play, although he didn't make the tackle, was Jesse Hatcher. In addition to stringing it out, he took on 2 blockers and took away the entire interference from Maryland. Spinelli had nowhere to go.
4-point Maryland lead before a sellout crowd on a perfect day. Tell you what, this type of a game goes a long way to help rebuild the Maryland football program. Timeout on the field now is called by Clemson. But you talk about Joe Krivak only in his second year putting the program back together and has rebuilt this team in a hurry. A very young team that he inherited and has taken it on the threshold of winning the ACC championship. They control their own destiny. Some of the other scores from around the country. Ours is 14-10 Maryland. Syracuse has battled back to take a 4-point lead over BC. That one's in the second quarter. Wake Forest has come from behind to lead Georgia Tech. That one is also in the second quarter.
Wake Forest with a legitimate shot at a bowl bid should they win their next couple of games.
And Iowa leading Ohio State. It's been a rough year for John Cooper in his debut as the Buckeye coach in Columbus. Those folks get anxious when you start losing. 3-0 Mississippi State on the verge of upsetting LSU. Danny Ford probably disbelieving what's transpiring here thus far this afternoon. His team has made some crucial little mistakes. On 3rd and 6, they jumped offside when Maryland threw an incomplete pass. Gave the Terps another shot at it. What did O'Donnell do? He threw a 24-yard touchdown pass. His place kicker, Gardocki, missed a 35-yarder, then had a 37-yarder block. 2nd and 9 for Maryland. O'Donnell to the air. He's in trouble. That's going to be a hold. That was a takedown. And he throws it away. Well, I'm going to tell you, John Rugg, one of the offensive linemen, really did a nice job of holding.
Looked like Hulk Hogan in the body slam.
And he did it right in front of the back judge. .219 remaining in the half. And they'll mark it off.
We have holding on the offense. 10-yard penalty.
That'll put it back at the 10-yard line.
Watching the bottom part of your screen. Well, actually, it'll be in the left-hand corner. There you go. Nice tackle.
And it was Mark Dragg was the one who was rushing for Clemson. He had eyes on his 11th sack of the season had that takedown not occurred.
Well, if you're Neil O'Donnell, you're not real upset because you know he was protecting you.
The draw play to Johnson gets a few of those 10 back. Lavon Kirkland, number 44, dropped it. Maryland would be probably satisfied to run out the clock here if they could. Clemson still has 2 timeouts.
I think Clemson's going to get a shot to put some points back on the board. And what going into halftime, well, you talk about an emotional boost. If they can get Gardocki back out and get him to knock one through the uprights, they'll be in good shape.
3rd and 17 for the Terrapins from their own 13. This game has been error-free in terms of turnovers. O'Donnell throwing the screen. He's got Lowry. He's got some room. Lowry to the 25, just short of the 30, which would have given them a first down. 15-yard pickup will force a punting situation. Doug Brewster made the first down saving tackle.
This is a good call on 3rd and long. This is a safe pass, and with any luck at all, you got a chance of breaking a big, big run. Brent Lowry gets his hands on the football, picks up some blocks, but you can see at the very end of the play, the Clemson guy coming in, making the tackle, saved what could have been a big, big first down.
Clemson asking for a timeout here. They are down to 1 timeout with 1:24 left in the half. Maryland's punting team huddled around Joe Krivak. He doesn't want any mistakes. Don't forget to stay with us at halftime. We'll take a look around the league at what happened in the ACC a week ago. Then we'll, as always, have one for the books. We'll be looking at Randy White. And we'll get you updated on all of the college football action that's taking place around the country today. Our game, 14-10. Maryland leading Clemson. DeArmas on to punt. Wolford is deep around his own 34. Tell you what, they didn't miss by much in getting that one, and they allowed him to really touch it off back to the 22, where Wolford has to call a fair catch. So now you look at DeArmas, who makes a big play. 48-yard punt with no return.
I'm going to tell you what, he thudded that ball.
Woo! Dexter Davis was close to blocking it, but Not so, as DeArmas gives the Maryland defensive team a lift by forcing Clemson into bad field position with just 1:15 remaining, and the Tigers down to their last timeout.
Well, now if you're Clemson, you want to get the football downfield, and you want to give yourself a chance to score. But by the same token, you don't want to force things. You don't want to make a mistake and turn around and give Maryland the opportunity to put points on the board.
And Clemson is not a good passing team, so they're doing something they don't normally do. Williams chased out of there by Edwards. Fires it complete. But Whittier able to tackle Allen inbounds. So that'll keep the clock running.
Still plenty of time. There's over a minute left. That's plenty of time for Clemson to get down and get in field goal range if they hurry.
And they're not hurrying. The clock now under a minute remaining. They'll snap it with about 45 seconds remaining. Quickly to Jennings, who drops the ball. Now it's third down.
Jennings is a little more concerned with getting out of bounds than he was with catching the football. And all you need is just a momentary lapse in concentration, and you'll drop the football.
So with 42 seconds remaining in the half, Danny Ford's team down 4. Will be down to a 3rd and 3. 3rd and 2, call it. Just outside of the 30. Williams keeps it first down at the 35. They keep him inbounds near the 40. It'll stop the clock to adjust the chains, but then the clock will roll again. They need about 25 more yards to give Gardocki a realistic shot. He's got a powerful leg, however scattered it may be.
When Clemson throws the football downfield, they like to go right down the middle. Look for Cooper down the middle.
Williams chased out of there, completes it to Allen. They'll keep him in bounds, and Clemson's going to be forced maybe to use their final timeout with just 15 seconds. It's a first down, so it momentarily stops the clock. And they have used their last timeout now. Well, Clemson's going to give it one more shot, I would guess, to try to get Gardocki an opportunity.
But while we're here, you're looking at a picture of Terry Allen. That brings up the subject. Who do you think is the player of the year in the league this year?
It's tough to ignore Terry Allen, who's gone over 1,000 yards, but how about Anthony Dilweg at Duke? The teams have won 3 consecutive conference titles. The Duke Blue Devils of Bill Murray, Jerry Claiborne, and Bobby Ross both did it at Maryland.
Clemson already having won 2 consecutive ACC titles. Should they win today and win the ACC title outright, this would be their 3rd consecutive, and they would be in some elite company.
Might mention Clemson was on probation during the portion of that 3-year run that Maryland had under Bobby Ross. Each of these teams have won the conference title the last 7 years. One of the 2 have been at the top. Williams down the middle for Allen. Whittier was waiting for him and knocked it loose with 10 seconds remaining in the half.
I tell you, Rodney Williams just about got Terry Allen killed. When you're throwing the football downfield, you've got to give your receivers a chance to catch the ball before they get hit. That time, Terry Allen and Scott Whittier arrived at the football at the same time.
Williams is 4 out of 10 for 57 yards passing the ball today. He'll go to the air again. Oh, there's Cooper. They've left him alone, and he makes the catch inside the 10 with 2 seconds remaining in the half. Unbelievable. Will they get the field goal team on in time to kick it? Gardocki heading out there in a hurry. They're going to get a shot at it. Now the officials step in and stop the clock, and the crowd boos lustily. Oh, bad snap. He got it up. He got it.
What a great play.
Well, they'll talk about this one, the officials moving in and stopping the clock with 2 seconds left to allow Clemson to get set. But how Maryland allowed Cooper to get behind everybody is beyond me with 10 seconds remaining.
Well, the thing that's amazing is that they had 3 deep, and they were way back. But the key to this play is that Rodney Williams, look at the amount of time he has to throw the football. Nobody's even near him. He gives Cooper a chance to run down the field and then delivers the ball on the money. Watch the catch, too. Turning around backwards and hitting the deck when he caught the ball. That's a great effort.
Mr. Cooper, Mr. Big Play. This guy averages better than 30 yards every time he touches. Look at the bad snap. Morocco's able to get it back up on the tee, and Gardocki, who's had an up and down first half, knocks it through there and pulls Clemson to within 1.
Well, I'm going to tell you how important it is to appreciate your holder, and what a great play that was by Gardocki, because kickers, when they get just a little bit off rhythm, they tend to push or shank the ball. That time, Gardocki had to stop in the middle of his approach and still managed to get the football through the uprights.
Give credit to the Clemson field goal unit that was able to hustle onto the field, too, as soon as they saw Cooper make that catch.
Hey, credit to coaches for that. They had those guys ready on the sidelines.
So Maryland leads it by 1 at halftime. Plenty coming up here at halftime. We'll be back after this message and a word from your local ACC station.
The Atlantic Coast Conference. 8 institutions, proud of their academic and athletic excellence. A conference comprised of 6 state-supported public institutions and 2 private institutions. Member schools of the ACC have won 5 of the last 9 College Football Association Academic Achievement Awards. ACC teams have appeared in 8 major bowl games over the last 3 years, compiling an impressive 5-3 record. Committed to excellence in academics and athletics, the Atlantic Coast Conference.
A century ago, the vision of one man created what is today Clemson University. By willing his lands and estate for what he saw as a high seminary of learning, Thomas Green Clemson established the school's greatest tradition, that of vision, the ability to envision the future and prepare for it. Clemson University, facing its 2nd century of education, research, and service to South Carolina and the nation, celebrating 100 years of tradition with vision.
Back live here at Byrd Stadium at halftime, 14-13 Maryland over Clemson. It's been the kind of game the championships are made of. Neither team has a turnover, Ben, and it's been that well played.
Maryland, the key for them today is going to be to execute just like they did in the first half. No mistakes as far as turnovers went, and they did the things they had to do to get the football in the end zone.
Our score 14-13 Maryland. Now the significance for Clemson, if they win today, they are the ACC champions outright. Nobody can catch them. They have a non-conference game next week. They would then go to the Florida Citrus Bowl. If Maryland should win, that throws the race wide open, because then we have a possibility of a 4-way tie. Maryland could win it themselves by defeating Virginia next week. But if they should go to Virginia and lose also, Ben, all the possibilities open up. And we might add, if there is a tie, the team with the highest national ranking would go to the Florida Citrus Bowl.
Well, you know, one of the interesting things about it, in the last 15 years, no ACC team has won the championship without 1 loss. It shows you top to bottom, this conference is pretty evenly matched. Clemson can dispel all that parity. If they win today, they win the thing outright. And whoever represents the ACC down in Florida Citrus Bowl not only gets a $1.15 million payoff, they have the chance to play on national TV.
And that payoff always figures into some of the motivation. Of course, for Maryland, they're the Cinderella team. Nobody expected them to be playing for the right to represent the conference in the bowl games. But they come in here today with their own destiny under their own control. If they win both games, they're the champs.
Well, that's the way you want to be. You want to have it within your grasp. It's just like playing a high school football game. You just want to be in it at the end. Maryland absolutely has the opportunity to control their own fate. They can see the bowl rings, and they can see the ACC championship rings right at the end of the tunnel. They just have to make it down to the other end.
And in next week's game, we will be tracking the potential conference champions. Next Saturday, North Carolina and Duke will play. That game will kick off at noon. You will either see that game or the Maryland-Virginia game, which will kick off also at noon. And as we mentioned, Maryland's the potential conference champion. And if they win today, all they'd have to do is beat Virginia. Also, if you don't watch either of those those two games, you'll have a chance to see South Carolina and Clemson. So if Clemson is still alive, or if they are indeed crowned conference champs today, we'll have that one for you next week. You'll see one of those three games, depending on where you live, so check your local listings. 14-13, Maryland leading Clemson here at halftime. We'll return after this message and a word from your local ACC stations.